$1 million worth of game. That's what it's called.
We're social. Check us out on Facebook.
At Keeping SC Radio.
Looking to get in touch with the homie Envy, joining us, of course, virtually. I know that he had said load shedding had hit that side. Envy, what's going on, brother?
What's going on, fam? What's popping?
Easy. Can't complain, man. As soon as you spoke of load shedding earlier, you jinxed it, boss. It hit us this side too. Boom. Just like that.
It's quite bad, man. Like I had to find an area in the house that I can reflect the light on. And the best way was in the bedroom right now. So like I'm sitting on the bed, literally. And but anyway, if you guys can see me and I can see you, I think that's best.
We can see you, brother. We can see you. Thanks for
Can you even see? Can you see the shadow? Can you please just see the shadow of the phone? I'm in such struggles, man.
I can see it, bro. But at least we can see you, and that's the most important part.
One love, man. What's popping?
One love, easy, man. Thanks for your time as well, man, and making the effort. Look, your story goes deep. You know, your story with hip hop goes deep. I'd just like to hear how it started for you, man. You know, when you actually started getting involved, because we all have, you know, the generic story about which music made us fall in love or get us interested in the culture. But what got you involved to start getting things popping for yourself as an artist, you know?
Look, I'll actually start the whole story from the inception, you know, like I had a guy who had rented a back room at my grandma's place. This was around 1996, 97. He had rented a back room and he had his little brother. So this guy's name was Brawili, but he had his little brother named Sipo, right? So Sipo was so heavily into hip hop. And at that time, I used to just listen to Kwaito and house music. Yeah. So I was like huge on Kwaito and house music. And this guy came out of nowhere, man, and he loved hip hop so much. And he started introducing me to like all these records. Well, obviously at that point in time, I knew of your Tupacs, your Biggies, you know, I'd listen here and there, you know. Yeah. But this guy, man, he sort of like pushed the music in. Like he really like made sure that I'm all about hip hop. And what's crazy about it was because I'm so in love with literature. So immediately when I heard spoken word like that and it being narrated like that, for me was like, oh fuck, these niggas is just doing amazing things. You know what I mean?
Whoa, crazy, right?
So so from there on, so basically, he played me like your Naughty by Natures, your Tupacs, your Biggies. So I started falling in love with it. And for me to actually start doing this thing like really seriously was in 2006 when I met up with a homie of mine called Mike Beth. So we decided, because we liked each other from the ciphers, and we decided, look, we should form a power group called the Anvils. And we did that. So we did that, and it worked out, man. It was so amazing because it's almost like it snowballed to the epitome of itself at that point in time, because everybody was just messing with us. So even management, things like that, everything was sort of like snowballing so easily for us, man, you know, and it was so beautiful because I never thought I'd see myself on TV, just let alone like a lot of people like on TV. So it was like a big thing for my family as well to be like, oh snap, you're on TV, you know, and you know they equate that with wealth. So
that's so true though. Yo, man, let me tell you, even when somebody, I mean, just to show you that the vibes of what you're talking about, even if somebody shows up on the news, like, you know, giving a comment to say like what happened here, maybe there was a fire, that person is a celeb for the whole week, you know.
Yeah.
Like, yo, I saw you on TV, as if they had like an acting role of some kind. The homie was telling you about a fire, Doug. But
and that's the craziest thing, because I mean they equate that to money. So every time when I'm walking around the hood, they'll be like, "Yo, man, what about that 10 rand?" You know, because I mean they equate that to wealth. So it's crazy. It's crazy.
Tiger Nyana, boss. Tiger Nyana.
Yeah. You know, it's a bit bug.
I'm telling you. You know, when you and Mike Beth were doing this very organic thing for you guys, it was also at the era where lyricism had really come to the front, you know, where people
Yeah.
weren't just listening for little elements, they were listening for everything. And you guys were at that time where you were also maybe even, you know, right at the forefront of that, in the sense of your abilities and the way you guys kept doing it. When things started snowballing, had you thought about the industry at all yet? Like, there's this whole other beast called the music industry, and then there are things that you're gonna need to learn about how people operate in this thing. And you know, there, because it gets dirty at some point and it gets really hectic at others. And for some people it gets disheartening, but I mean, for people who understand that there's a lot to learn and there's a whole other side of it, I guess there's a whole different approach. What was your angle on it?
I think for me and Mike Beth, within the early stages of us doing the anvils, you know, we knew what the hardships of it was, you know, until we met up with a guy who didn't know much about what the music industry was like. So he wanted to learn, and he was as eager and as hungry as we were to make this thing work. So he had the business mind, but he didn't have the music industry business knowledge.
Sure.
Yeah, but he had the normal like business knowledge, because I'm speaking about somebody who, you know, was working a proper 9 to 5. You know, he was in corporate. So he decided to say, "Yo, guys, listen, I don't know much about what's happening with music, but I want to take this trip with you guys." So he protected us a lot. So we never knew a lot of the dirty work that really happened behind the scenes and what was happening. He protected us so much from that, and I think it was good and it was bad in a sense, because we became spoiled in a sense. You know,
Sure.
we only had to focus on the rhymes. You
Mm,
know,
mm, mm.
yeah. So the business side, we were always saying, yeah, no, highlight buff pound, highlight buff pound, highlight buff pound. Anybody highlight buff pounds? You know what I mean? Um, I mean, if we made a million, for instance, we wouldn't have even known, because we would have been in a situation of highlight buff pound, highlight buff pound. You know what I mean? Yeah, you know, but he was taking care of us, man. I don't want to lie. But in a sense, he spoiled us as well, because he did the normal thing of what's supposed to happen with artists. You know, he said, "Artists, you guys become creative. Don't touch anything that's business. I will handle it."
Like,
Which I think is, you know,
focus on your music, yeah.
yeah, and which made us create what we created, because we had no pressure of, ah, shit, man, like what are we gonna do after here? How are we gonna sell the music? Oh my word, what are we gonna, you know what I mean? It was almost like okay, we're done with the music, it's dope, what do you guys do with it? You
Sure,
know?
sure, sure, sure,
Yeah, so
sure.
we were spoiled in that sense. But I mean, as ages, you know, as everything ages, you know, you start learning a bit about what's been happening and what's going on in the background, and some of the stuff that he had to endure as well. So
Mm, mm, mm.
yeah, you know, so I mean, it's built a stronger character right now for me.
Yes.
Um, I mean, Mike Beth he had stopped rapping for like a while. So I had to like sort of like continue the anvils thing with Black Les, and we had to carry the baton and carry on
Yes.
with it. But even in the midst of that, we learned so much, myself and Les, that about our industry. You know, I mean, even to us getting to a point where we had to do things for ourselves.
Mm,
You
mm,
know,
mm.
yeah. So I think I mean the whole you being a boss thing is a bit. It's dope. You know, it feels nice, but you have to bear the cross that comes with it. And
Absolutely.
I think and I think a
Heavy,
lot of the guys don't. Yeah, a lot of the guys aren't really ready for that.
heavy is the head that wears the crown, they say.
Facts, facts,
So,
facts.
you come from a city which is not just the capital city, but also known in rap as Cap City, because of this absolute wave of talented lyricists from every single corner of Tshwane and the surrounding areas. Being from a city like that, and attending ciphers, for instance, and meeting people you've never heard, and hearing inspiration from cats who are 5, 6, 7 years younger than you and are flipping things that remind you of yourself, you know. What kind of vibes does that add to the flag that you fly for Cap City, you know? Because I think it's a big one, and we are still, and you guys are still continuously producing you know, some of the top level lyricism that people can use as a benchmark sometimes when we start listening to other things and saying, well, actually, when we talk about lyrics, there's a standard, you know. You guys really have managed to do that and add a flair to it that, you know, which has always come with the style. What does it mean to fly that flag that high? And also, you know, tell us a bit about the come up of your city.
Look, you know, when we started the whole Cap City Rap City movement thing, I mean, I caught on to it when it was still in its inception stages as well. You know, I mean, Yams was I won't say solely responsible, but he was one of the pioneers in ensuring that, you know, a lot of the guys from different hoods as well got together at his place and recorded music together. And we all had an idea of what kind of sound and how we wanted to come out as Pretoria. Now, not everybody sort of like understood it, or not a lot of people bought into it, but we wanted to create that whole jazzy feel, smooth music, but with high class lyricism. You know, that was the sound that we're going for. But you also have to be cognizant of the fact that people are different. People may feel different the next day. People may be whatever. But we try to push it so much. So it's sort of like created a sound for Pretoria at that point in time that these guys are the guys from the city of jazz. You know, that's how how it's called. So you know, Jacaranda Tree, city of jazz. So we try to imprint that as much as we could. Also hoping that the generation that's coming, you know, carries on the baton. But I think as the OGs were responsible for not really giving out the baton that easy, because I think we're so judgmental at that point that we needed to hear that you are really, really fire for us to co-sign you. You know, so I think a lot of the guys from Pretoria, a lot of the upcoming guys from Pretoria were also a bit upset because they felt unsupported. They felt, you know, like the OGs aren't showing us love, and you know. But I think for us it was because we came up from the school of you gotta rap dope. Nobody does it for you for free. You know, you gotta sound nice. I never went to Flaba and said, yo, put me on or something. You know what I mean? I had to sound nice for him to say, yo, you one of my favorites. So that's the attitude that we also had, that, yo, man, for us to be in a position where we pass the baton, you guys gotta be nice. You know what I mean? We're not trying to like really give the baton to people that aren't, you know, they're not as nice. And, you know, now that's the legacy that we've left behind. That's just, that's a bit bad, you know what I mean? So, it kind of forced it. Like I said, it was a bad and good thing because a lot of the guys felt alienated, you know, and but it was because of the quality control. But I think we could have done better as the OGs in the city to try help these kids as well, you know, and try and collaborate with them as well, but also just making sure that we sort of like teach them, you know, the ins and outs of this whole thing. It's not necessarily about lyricism in itself. It's just also just learning the business, because we had to learn it as times went. So we owed it more than just saying to them, yeah, this is how you need to sound. We needed to say, hey, dudes, you guys need to protect yourselves. Do this, do that, do this, do that. So I think we lacked in doing that. But yeah, the boys came out stunning, man. I mean, I'm listening to a lot of the PTA rappers right now, the guys that are coming up, and they doing amazing things, and they still pay respects, you know. And it's warm, man. We enjoy that, and we supporting them. We all the way behind them.
Who you co-signing these days? Just off a listen, you know, some of the people that we should be looking out for, you know, because I mean,
from Pretoria,
yeah, no doubt,
yeah. I mean, I heard. I mean, the normal suspects is Reese. There's 25K. He's doing his thing. There's a guy I think was it last year? I got put onto him. His name is Tato Saul. I don't know if it's Soul or Saul. Yeah, but he's fresh as well. And there's a kid. I can't forget him. His name is Kaya Dumaku. I think you guys are gonna be so freaking surprised with this kid.
Okay.
He's amazing. A little boy, but he's amazing. He's got that whole Joey Badass thing about him, man. And lyricism, yeah, he's amazing. Actually, what I'll do is I'll send you one of his records. You gotta spin them. I'll send you one of his records. Yeah. He's amazing.
Doubt.
He's amazing.
No doubt. So, you did. You've been consistently putting out work. We follow each other on these socials. I mean, we support each other's stuff. So, one of the projects which there was the peanut butter project, there was the no pineapple
on my pizza. Yeah.
Yeah. What what drives your influences? Because just from the titles alone, let's say of the albums, those are things that maybe interest you. You're no longer doing titles to catch people off guard or whatever. It's like literally you went through something just a little bit and you're like, actually, that would make a dope project. And you build and you unpack from there. And I think that's how maybe easily it comes to you now. But maybe that's what's needed, is when you're making albums that or records that are just influenced by the smallest of things, but that can turn into something so relatable. So I mean, what is your process? What is your process when it comes to that?
Look, I try, and I think with all the projects that I'm going to drop, I think the titles are just going to be a bit strange because it's not the normal stuff that people do. Like I'm not one of those guys who's going to call the album Sunshine or the Art of War or like that kind of stuff. I want to title albums based on normal conversations that we have daily. You know. If I wanted to say a drive in the car with me and True Sense, that's the name of the album. You know what I mean? A drive in the car with me and True Sense, and that's it. Yeah, because that's and you know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, it's the emotion that I had at that point in time. It could have been like you and I were just jamming throughout my entire album because we're driving around and what's so not. So why not call it that? Because that's the mood. You know what I mean? I'm not going to try now create an entirely different title for the album that's just not going to be connecting with the music in itself. Right, so everything that I do is based on a certain moment that I shared while creating that project. Because even with Peanut Butter, it was we were going through the whole rich and poor thing. And I think I've explained this to a lot of people. But we're going through trying to explain Rich Rich Dad, Poor Dad? That whole book.
Yeah. Robert Kiyosaki.
Yeah. So we're trying to sort of like take that, but flip it into how we understand it. Hence peanut butter. And people will say, but peanut butter, we thinking yum, yum. No, peanut butter. Peanuts is when you earn minimum wages. When your life is good, we say your life is butter. So do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
Because that's how we talk, me and my people. You know what I mean? So yeah. And even with no pineapples on my pizza, I genuinely don't love pineapples on pizza. I own a pizza business with my dad right now, and
you don't do pineapples. Tell me you guys do pineapples at request. All right, so we still have Envy on the line. He's just probably just trying to get the network story back into effect. We're having a great conversation here about if you've just joined us anyway, it's 11 minutes before 8:00. Welcome to the Fifth Element. We are talking here about the process, the organic process by which he puts his stuff together, like his music together. And we're talking about the two most recent projects, which is more recently Peanut Butter, and then before that, No Pineapple on My Pizza. Yeah. So
sorry about that, man. I went off the block a bit. I went off the grid a bit. My bad.
Nah. It's all good. I think you're back with us. So you were telling us you and your pops are running a pizza business, and you still get mad at people when they order pineapple.
Yeah, but they actually enjoy it. It's just me. It's my preference, man.
No doubt. Yo, I think the network is not allowing us to be great right now. Are you still there?
Hey, I'm
There you
here.
go.
Can you see me now?
There you go.
Oh, there we go.
There you go. There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. So we were talking about the process and how you put all of this together, and it's always great to ask that question because no two people's processes are the same, you know. I know a guy who writes let's say if he like, this is how meticulous he is. If he says I want to do an 18-track album, he'll write number 1 to 18 and then name the tracks. He hasn't even gotten beats yet. Name the tracks, to what he wants to write about.
What does that sound like you? Why does it sound like that's you? It's almost like you speaking about yourself, nigga.
Nah, that's how actually.
That sounds like you, dog.
that could very well be, now that I think about it. As I'm thinking about it, because it's just recently that I was speaking to this brother. But now that you mention it, I might.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, definitely. I think that's your process as well.
I think there might be. Yeah, I kind of put my ideas out there and then follow them up with everything else, So there it is, just to prove that everybody's process is definitely varied, and respect to the fact that no matter what someone's process is, when we hear the finished product, it's still hip hop,
Yeah.
From what that's where it's at. So when it comes to production, what kind of sound gets you excited? What kind of thing gets you going? Is it instruments? Is it effects? Is it a bass line? What gets you going that makes you want to put pen to paper right now?
It's usually the sample.
Yeah.
I think, and I hate Nyams for this, but he was like solely responsible for having me so adapted to the sample. I'm so in love with the sample. So even when most of the time when we make a record with the boys, I want to strip down the record to it being naked totally, so I can hear what was the record about. I'll speak to the producer and ask, yo, what were you thinking when you made this? So that we sort of like kind of like gel our ideas as well to sort of create this masterpiece, so we can be on the same kind of wavelength as well. So if he says, yo, man, I was in this mood when I created this. If I'm not feeling that, I'll create my own mood. But most often than not, I'd resonate with what he tried to create, and then we'll create an idea from that. We'll pattern out the idea from that. It'll snowball from there. But I'm more of the sample guy, man. Get me those vocal samples in. Woo! Then you won me over. I know people lose their minds because of like bass line. Look, all that stuff is cool, but just get me that sample, and most trumpets as well. Yeah, I think trumpets. Yeah, I like trumpets. Yeah, the horns. Then you won me over. You won me over.
Who are some of the notable people you've worked with, maybe amongst your travels, and people that you may still be looking forward to working with that represent where you are now in hip hop? You've had such a great journey, and now I think you're making music that means something more to you than it means something to other people, because it's, at the end of the day, it's telling your story from your first person perspective. So when you decide to work with people now, they've got to be part and parcel of what you are relating to at the time. It's no longer just about we can work. You remember those days where it's like let's go.
No. Now we don't play that. We don't play that. Now we don't play that. Nah, we don't play that. Like, it's so crazy because I'm so meticulous in terms of even the features. I think maybe that's the reason why I don't get featured a lot, because I listen to records and I'm like, nah. Nah. But most of the notable people, like, just to answer the first question, I think the highlight of my life was having to work with people like M Phases, who's done joints for A. Marie, done joints for Trey Songz. I've also worked with Wordsworth, I I worked with True Sense.
Yeah,
you know,
man. Yeah, man.
I've worked with your Jabbers. I've worked with your Quest. I think most of the people that I've really had a thing for and I've respected in the game, I've touched base with them. You know, so I
Word,
think I'm cool. I think I'm
word,
cool. I don't think there's anybody in the rap circle that I'm like, hey, damn, like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, I need to do this. Nah, I
Nah.
think, now I'm a bit more calm. Yeah. If I had to do any collaborations, it will be outside the genre, obviously. But because of late, I'm so patriotic to the genre. I just want to work with people in the genre,
Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah,
know?
yeah. And
I
keep
love
the
hip hop
culture alive.
yeah, I love hip hop to the death of me, man. You know, I mean, I may love house, I may love piano, I may love whatever, but people who get first preference with me are hip hop.
It's like me, man. I love all music. Like I grew up with the
Yeah,
classical music background and all of that. But when I start pressing play, even if we all playing one track each, and I start pressing play, it's gonna be hard to get me off that mic, off that remote, because
no, because it's in your blood, fam. This thing is in
nah,
your blood, fam. It's in your blood, man. It's in your blood. Like I know a lot of niggas try to run away from it, and niggas say like, nah, nigga. This is. You always tell. I had a reason. I had a conversation reason. Funny enough, I had a conversation reason just recently, and we had a video shoot, and he got there, and I was like, yo, who do we have today? Do we have Caesar Alakine or Reason? He's like, nah, my hair is black today. It's only Caesar Alakine if it's peroxided. I'm like, okay, cool. It's fine.
my man.
So yeah, man. But I show love to hip hop, man. I show love to hip hop.
One love, man. When these kids, let's say a few years, talking about 50 years from now, man,
Yeah.
are playing somewhere, and they're playing with tools, and they're digging, and boom, they find a box, and your album is there, and it's fully wrapped, and like, oh snap, what's this? A CD, and they finally find a device to play it with. What do you want to happen to them when they first press play?
I want to give them that nostalgic feel. I want them to know what happened between 1998 till 2001. That entire period.
Ooh.
I want them to know if they sat there and they thought, but how did it feel in 1998 between that space and 2001? I want that to be the template for it.
Ooh.
That album, Peanut Butter, it has to be that thing for them where they're like, oh, do you understand? And that's like, years in between, man. That's a lot of years. I said it, 1998 till 2001. I want them to feel that.
That's too fresh, man. That is too fresh.
Yeah.
Envy, we could do this all night, man, but I got to go, homie. I got to go.
Wow, fam. Thank you so much. True. Like, I appreciate it, brother. I appreciate it, man.
We're definitely gonna catch up some more. As we starting these with the one-on-ones, there is a round table coming, where we're gonna get ourselves together, get organized, and we're not gonna sit there and talk about people's albums and top tens and everything. We're actually just gonna bring the culture forward onto the table, and I think you're one of the people that we'll be reaching out to for that. Hence our conversation today. But the continuation will happen once we get the round table together, my brother.
Fantastic. True. I'd like to give you a round of applause as well, man. Like, a lot of people don't want to take it to where you're taking it, and I really appreciate it, my G. Like you sacrificing so much of your time to make sure that this art stays alive, and I think we don't celebrate that enough in the culture. So I just want to give you a flowers as well right now to say thank you, my brother. You're doing so much, and you're doing such great work, and I really appreciate it. From my standpoint, I think you're one of our heroes as well, man.
Shout out, brother, man. Thanks a lot. We'll be in touch, and I can't wait for our next engagement, man. Easy.
I got you one.